Welcome to Keep the Faith Ministry News. Synchronized free time should be a priority in the EU social policy agenda, according to European bishops and other organizations. In a joint statement published Wednesday, on the occasion of the International Day for a Work-Free Sunday, the Commission of the Bishops' Conference of the EU, COMECE, and the European Sunday Alliance urged political leaders in Europe to protect synchronized free time in most European countries traditionally on Sunday. Quote, "This, they say, is especially relevant in times where the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated existing challenges of digitalization by intensifying work and extending work hours, thus putting a healthy work-life balance at risk for more people." Non-stop work. The statement notes that one of the major impacts of the pandemic lockdowns has been an acceleration of previous trends towards increasing levels of mobile and home working. Quote, "With the rise of digital working, the fragmentation and delimitation of working time has further proceeded. Working in the evenings and during weekends is increasingly common and indeed expected by many employers. The Alliance says this increases stress on workers and, quote, affects their work-life balance and compromises the health and well-being of workers, making them not only sick in the long run, but also causing increasingly more often their absence from work due to psychosocial illness for sustained periods of time." Day of Rest. According to the network, which includes more than 100 national Sunday alliances, trade unions, employers, organizations, civil society associations, churches, and religious communities in the European Union, a full day of rest per week is indispensable to recover. Quote, "Indeed, they say, a common day of rest truly increases well-being and brings a positive effect on health." Quote, "Only during a common day of rest is it possible to pursue volunteer work, civic engagement, joint social, sports, or faith-related activities, family time, and more generally, to spend time together," the statement explains. EU bishops also recall that humans are social beings, and for many of them, their health requires more than individual time off at scattered, random moments of the week to spend alone. A day free of work recognized by tradition or custom is therefore essential to disconnect, literally and figuratively. Visible improvement. The Alliance thus urges political leaders in Europe to make synchronized free time a priority, thus making, quote, "a tangible, visible, and cherished improvement to the lives of citizens across Europe." In particular, the European Network calls on the European Commission, quote, "to align its upcoming proposal for a directive on a right to disconnect with Article 2 of the Council of Europe's Social Charter, which already requires a weekly rest period which shall, as far as possible, coincide with the day recognized by tradition or custom in the country or region concerned as a day of rest." By protecting Sunday as a day of rest, the bishops mean to enact laws. They are staging for Sunday worship laws, which are a small step from Sunday rest laws. Quote, "While men are sleeping, Satan is actively arranging matters so that the Lord's people may not have mercy or justice. The Sunday movement is now making its way in darkness. The leaders are concealing the true issue, and many who unite in the movement do not themselves see whither the undercurrent is tending. Its professions are mild and apparently Christian, but when it shall speak, it will reveal the spirit of the dragon."
Dear friends, as a long-term sponsor of the European Sunday Alliance, I'm proud to support the goal of ensuring the work-free Sunday. A synchronized week time of rest is very important in our fast-paced world. The work culture of modern society doesn't leave enough of time to enjoy with our loved ones. Children spend more and more time online. This not only affects their relationship with parents, grandparents, and siblings, but also seriously impacts their development and mental health. Mental health of adults is at stake too. As a member of the Committee on Employment and Social Matters, I repeatedly call on better work-life balance and more quality time offline time spent with family and friends. Therefore, on the occasion of the European Day for Work-Free Sunday, I encourage all stakeholders to jointly continue our efforts to turn the idea of a synchronized day of rest into reality. It is essential for well-being of all citizens and better functioning societies.
Dear friends, on 3rd of March we celebrate the European Day for a Work-Free Sunday. Sunday is a day dedicated to family, but also to a holy mass. It's a treasured time of relaxation and quiet during the full work rush. For us Christians, Sunday is the Lord's Day. For those who are not Christians, it also bears an important feature of a common day of rest. Besides, Work-Free Sunday has clear benefits to mental health and ensures the right to disconnect for all of us, especially shop assistants. They should have their Sunday too. I look forward to one day when free Sundays will become in the entire EU reality.
On the 3rd of March, we celebrate the Work-Free Sunday. As we say in Germany, on a Sunday, Daddy belongs to me. So I have the right as a child, I have the right to spend my free time with my parents on a Sunday. And that was a long fight. And that is so important, that workers, employees have the right for a break. And that is good for our environment, that is good for our social life, and that is what we have to keep, especially in the digital way, in the digital sector. The Work-Free Sunday on a Sunday, Daddy, Mommy, my family, supposed to me, it must be a free day.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the European Union, COMES, has again called for Sunday rest laws as part of their support for the European Pillar of Social Rights. The COMES Social Affairs Commission and the Secretariat have supported the proposed initiative of the European Pillar of Social Rights and has submitted its own input to the EU consultation. Transformative changes in the labor market, as well as growing economic and social divergence in the EU, call for concerted actions at the European level, COMES said. Several factors influence EU labor regulations and work-life balance, they said. Balance, of course, refers to rest, in particular Sunday rest. Here they are. Number one, divergence and digitalization challenge the single market project. Number two, social convergence and rising prosperity are key promises of the single market project. Number three, the financial crisis, on the contrary, has turned into an economic mutation that has brought convergence in terms of youth employment, income, and poverty levels to a halt. Social divergence, as in the huge influx of Muslims into Europe, and digitalization causes fragmentation of social and economic structures within a society, which work against social convergence. The bishops are promoting the Pillar of Social Rights as a way to offset the social chaos that mass migrations have created. When Pope Francis accepted the Charlemagne Prize back in May of 2016, he encouraged the EU to come up with new, more inclusive and equitable models, in particular the social market economy, which is a papal construct of the economy built on Roman Catholic social teaching. COMES bishops provided a statement called a European Community of Solidarity and Responsibility. Among other things, the bishops said the proposal for the Pillar of Social Rights involves many aspects of Catholic social teaching, but they pressed for other key elements to be included. Among them was the recommendation to protect Sunday as a day of rest. As in times of digitalization of the economy, the boundaries between private and work life become increasingly blurred. COMES proposes to incorporate decent working hours and the right to a common weekly day of rest. This day should be in principle the Sunday, which is recognized by tradition and custom in most of the member states or regions. A common weekly day of rest can only be Sunday in their thinking. It is designed to bring convergence and solidarity around Sunday observance, which for now is limited to Sunday rest. Note that they also say that it is tradition and custom that is the foundation for Sunday rest. They ignore the fact that the law of God accomplishes the very same thing by its command to keep the seventh-day Sabbath. Also note that the bishops ignore the conflicts and social fragmentation that arise as a result of the mass migrations of immigrants from the Middle East. They're trying to suggest that Sunday rest will achieve what the mass migration and digitalization have destroyed. In a globalized economy, Commies, therefore, hopes that the European pillar of social rights will renew social convergence in Europe and contribute to a creation of a culture that drives globalization towards the humanizing goal of solidarity. The effort to push for Sunday rest laws to bring society together in solidarity is not new. It has been a central principle of the Catholic bishops for a very long time. Notice how the following prophetic statement emphasizes the social convergence and solidarity of Sunday observance. As the Sabbath has become the special point of controversy throughout Christendom, and religious and secular authorities have combined to enforce the observance of the Sunday, the persistent refusal of a small minority to yield to the popular demand will make them objects of universal execration. Note that religious and secular authorities will combine in solidarity to enforce Sunday observance. The Commies bishops are now working to achieve this around a policy of Sunday rest, among other things. They will claim eventually that there is a small minority that refuses to unite in convergence and solidarity with the rest of society, and therefore support Sunday laws. They will claim that they need to be eliminated so that the Catholic social construct of convergence and solidarity of the whole world can be achieved. It will be urged that the few who stand in opposition to the institution of the Church and a law of the state ought not to be tolerated, that it is better for them to suffer than for whole nations to be thrown into confusion and lawlessness. The same argument many centuries ago was brought against Christ by the rulers of the people. It is expedient for us, said the wily Caiaphas, that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. The European Confederation of Independent Trade Unions, or CESI, has joined the European Sunday Alliance as a supporting member. CESI, founded in 1990, has 38 trade union organizations from 21 European countries and 4 European trade union organizations, with a total of more than 5 million individual members. It advocates for improved employment conditions for workers in Europe. CESI encourages its member organizations to join the European Sunday Alliance as full members. The European Sunday Alliance supports the protection of health and safety of workers and their right to a limit on maximum working hours and of a weekly rest period, including, in principle, Sunday. Advocates for respect for collective agreements covering work organization, which are essential to the social contract of a modern European society. Speaks up against the growing economic pressure undermining national regulations regarding working conditions. Fosters commitment to safeguard and promote work-free Sunday and decent working hours. Pushes the EU institutions to safeguard Sunday in principle as the common weekly rest day in the EU, and works to ensure that EU legislation and internal market rules guarantee the central place of health and safety, work and life balance, and social cohesion by launching relevant initiatives to ensure work-free Sundays and decent working hours. And it pushes governments of member states to take their responsibility for improving, implementing, and enforcing existing legislation and practices and respecting collective agreements. All of these points are foundational to the real goal of the European Union to resurrect the Holy Roman Empire and establish Sunday rest and worship. CESI Secretary General Klaus Heger said, as highlighted in a main motion adopted at CESI's last Congress, the EU Working Time Directive should apply as broadly as possible. CESI advocates for decent working hours and adequate work-life balance, which are key elements that the European Sunday Alliance also promotes. This means, in practicality, that all non-essential work on Sunday would be halted so that families can have synchronized free time so that all family members are free from work at the same time. SESI wants to force its agenda on Europe. It is vital that trade unions, social NGOs, and churches join in a forceful coalition with decision makers and politicians to make sure that employment remains regulated and fair for all. I am convinced that the European Sunday Alliance is a network that can make a difference, Heger said. As the European Sunday Alliance grows and adds more members, it will gain strength to the point where it can successfully pressure governments to protect Sunday as a day of rest. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If any man worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." Revelation 14, verse 9 and 10.
Work-free Sunday must be guaranteed for everyone. We need a work-life balance that is real, that is concrete, which means that we have the time for our family life, for our private interests, for our passions, for thinking, for living outside of the work time. Sometimes today we see this as a blending situation between private life and work life. This must stop. We need to give a clear boundary. And this is why we must support a work-free Sunday.
Imagine a workplace where the incessant ping of emails doesn't follow you into your evenings and weekends. Let's take a moment to reflect on why a work-free Sunday really matters. This day isn't merely a pause in the weekly grind. It's a deliberate act of self-care and a collective commitment to prioritize the well-being of our workers, their families, and societies as large. Sundays offer a rightful opportunity for quality resting time, fostering a sense of replenishment. On this annual European Day for a work-free Sunday, let us delve deeper into a crucial aspect of modern work culture, the right to disconnect. It is the directive initiated by the European Parliament that stands as a beacon for the well-being of workers, recognizing the need for a balance between our professional and personal lives. It's a celebration not just of a day off, but of the profound importance of a work-free Sunday. In a world where our smartphones and digital tools keep us tethered to the work around the clock, completely connected, the right to disconnect is a bold move to redefine the boundaries between work and personal time. It emphasizes the importance of allowing employees to disengage from work-related communication outside their designated working hours. The right to disconnect, and by extension, a work-free Sunday, encourages employers to establish clear policies that respect the personal time of their workforce. It is a call to recognize that employees shouldn't be expected to be on call 24/7, fostering a healthier work-life balance. This directive champions a shift towards a workplace culture that values rest, recreation, and the importance of fully disconnecting during non-working hours. It understands that quality personal time is not just a luxury, but a necessity for a productive and satisfied workforce. When employees are allowed to fully disengage during their non-working time, they return to their duties refreshed, contributing to increased productivity and overall job satisfaction. So, as we celebrate this annual European Day for a Work-Free Sunday, let's acknowledge a fundamental truth. Workers have a life outside their work.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to support the important work of the Free Sunday Alliance. In my eyes, Free Sunday is not only important from the Christian perspective, it's also important from a human being perspective. Here on the European level, we are discussing a lot about how to tackle loneliness, how to deal with the challenges of work-life balance, how to find answers on the question of a right to disconnect. I think these are all issues directly connected to your work as a Free Sunday Alliance, so I'm looking very much forward to our future cooperation in these important issues.
I'm Tomasz Dechowski. as we approach the European Day for a Work-Free Sunday, we need to remind ourselves how important it is to find balance between work and our life. Today, our lives are often full of stress and pressure, and we also often exhausted and full of worries. It is hard to find time to relax and to be disconnected. But our physical and mental health is the most important things we have it. Work-free Sunday is for me fundamental rights. I given us the time to enjoy important things in life, such as family, friends, and ourselves. I fully support the Work-Free Sunday initiative. Thank you.